Okay, let's get started with the second episode ever from this podcast. So, our first topic today is rumors that the Tesla Model 2 was spotted, or at least that's the rumored name. And it's also rumored this will be around $25,000. So, the prototype spotted was in China, which is where Tesla said they were going to be doing this anyways. It looked like it had a Mazda CX-30 body, but I would say it looked stubby. Like I wouldn't call it a full CX-30. It looked like a stubby version with like if you take the back third of the Mazda 3, like the CX-30, take the second row in the hatchback and then stick the front of a Model 3 to just behind the driver's seat, kind of push it together like that. That's kind of what it looks like. So it's unclear if this is Tesla just testing things or what's going on. Other than they have talked about doing a Chinese model of Tesla to kind of compete in that market over there, as that market is usually smaller cars, cheaper cars, and less range. So Tesla doesn't really have an offering like that. The bigger question will be, will this be a car that ends up coming to America at some point, or is this going to be a vehicle that is only in the Chinese market? In 2020, Tesla's R&D center in China did announce plans to establish this R&D center in China to build a quote Chinese style electric car, like we just talked about. The future plans is that Tesla has been ramping up over the last couple days, and it remains to be seen what Tesla's future plans are for this newer electric car. Discussion questions on this by co-host ChatGPT. I did not write any of these today. They just kind of got away from me. So these are all written by ChatGPT. But what are the potential benefits and challenges of Tesla developing a new electric car designed and built in China? I think it's what we've seen with every other company that's done stuff in China is for one, Tesla's going to lose their information to the Chinese government. There's just no way around that at all. Whatever they do there is going to be noted there. I think in the past we've seen a website pop up that was basically a clone of Tesla's website, but that's just how things are over there. It's the Wild West. It's I guess would that be the Wild East? Would that technically be what that is? I think that's what that would be. It is. But I do think that this is a vehicle that's going to have to happen. I think is something they could even branch out to other markets and sell here. I mean, this would be a good vehicle for people that live in the city and don't need a vehicle to get like super far throughout the day, but might need it for moving cargo and whatever else. You don't need the range, you don't need the size because you're not moving big things, but it's not like you can walk it or scooter it. You need a car still. I think this vehicle could still make sense if, say, it has around 130 miles of range. That said, in cold environments, that 130 is going to be more like 50. So, I mean, it's just kind of, you're limited. It's going to be a limited vehicle, but I think it's something they can still do. And next up here, just how might the unveiling of the next generation vehicle platform from Tesla impact the car market? I think that's also relatively pretty straightforward here, as other companies have started with offerings kind of in this area. I would say the Prius is kind of comparable. I know it's a hybrid, but I guess the Bolt maybe is a similar size. Uh, Whatever that Nissan car is. I mean, this will probably have less range than those, I would guess. Maybe we'll still get C200 because Tesla has some pretty incredible battery. But again, yeah, I think it will make an impact. I think other car companies are already doing that though. So how big of an impact is questionable. Tesla's already made a major impact, so I don't know if we're really going to see any other huge impacts from them. But I guess we'll find out. Next up, we have Fisker and ChargePoint are teaming up for car charging in the US. Basically, Fisker is partnering with ChargePoint to provide access to its charging network across the US for Fisker Ocean EV owners. I don't even remember what the Ocean looks like. I'm going to Google that quick. But nonetheless, I more put this in here as not like oh, cool that Fisker is doing this. Um, Oh, the Fisker Ocean looks like that. Okay, that's not half bad. Anyways, I put this in here more as like It's this whole electric car charging world is messed up. So when I I guess when I say that, what I mean is I think Tesla's the only one really making an effort here for the most part, but there's so many different types of charging ports, and it's not like a gas station where you pull up and they have all the options for you and you just put it in your car. You have to carry the excuse me. You have to carry the adapters with you to these charge ports to be able to plug in and use these things. I think making partnerships like this is great. I think what we really need to see is the car market really needs to just go, hey, we're all going to use Type C. I'm sure you'll have somebody that still pulls an Apple and is like, nah, we got the Lightning port, bro, we're good. But we need people to just agree, even though it's not as profitable, that to a certain extent these things need to be standardized. I think what we've seen in the US at least is that maybe the government here is a little less competent when it comes to regulating these technologies ahead of time. I feel like I read more articles about the EU forcing things to happen. Like Apple has to switch from the Lightning port here in the next couple of years, in Europe at least. Whether that means they go to Type C or wireless is up to them. But even if they go to wireless, that's at least standardized, pretty straightforward. Wireless works if you have wireless. So it's a win and a loss that way, but at least you're standardizing it more where you don't have all these adapters. I would argue the car market's even worse, where you have tons of different charging styles. I mean, I believe Ford has their own one, Porsche has their own one, Tesla has their own one. I'm not sure on Chevy and some of the other brands, but the point is there's a ton, and they just we need to standardize this stuff. And I mean, that's gonna at some point that's gonna hinder growth in the EV world is charging. I mean, it already does to an extent, but not having the same access to chargers. I mean, what are the odds you go to a charger and it's broken or full or still being built anyways, and they just put it on their map already? I know people that's happened to. I know Tesla does a pretty good job at reporting that, but still can happen. So you got to standardize it somehow. And with how long charge times are, you need more spaces than a typical gas station. On top of that, I mean, the charging world, especially for electric vehicles, is just a mess right now, and it's gonna have to change. There's no way around it. I mean, people aren't gonna carry 30 adapters in their car at all times. Apple Watch has been banned in the U.S. Not yet. It hasn't actually been banned yet, but basically what's happening here is Apple is facing an import ban on some of its smartwatch models in the US. I believe it's the Watch 4 and newer, or looking at a potential ban. Basically, they are infringing on a patent on the ECG technology in the watch. And I believe the company they're infringing on is AliveCor, which is a medical device company. And apparently there's several patents here. And if it goes that far back, I mean, this is a pretty big thing. And it's kind of wild that it's going to get them blocked from importing into the US. I believe that it basically will take effect if Joe Biden approves it here. And I I mean, I don't know enough about these patents to know for sure, but I mean, you're in some dangerous water here. And so this basically covers the monitor in the watch that does your electrocardiogram technology, and the fact that they violated multiple is kind of crazy. So, for what we have here, I don't know enough about this topic, but it's a wild to see such a big product that for now 2 generations, 3 generations of smartwatches is going to have to be banned on import possibly, especially from a major company like Apple. So, first discussion question here is, what are the implications of an import ban on the Apple Watch for the company, and how might this affect sales and market share in the US? Oh, I think the used market's going to get a little more expensive. I think that's going to be the first thing that happens if this really goes through. Secondly, I am curious to see. Apple does not get pushed over very often at all. Even at all. I'd go to say that. They're not a pushover company. So will Apple be willing to reach a deal here, or are they going to just fight this as long as they can so they can keep importing their watches in the meantime? Or I don't even know if this works this way, but can the president like put a hold on it until it's figured out? I have no idea. If you do know, let me know in the comments or just somewhere. That'd be awesome. Just to if you're smarter than me. But yeah, I think this will affect Apple in a big way. I think the Apple Watch is probably one of the biggest, well, for sure the biggest smartwatch, and it's actually a big part of what Apple does. So this will be interesting to see. Uh, Second question here is just what is the broader significance of this case in patent law, intellectual property rights, and how might it shape the legal landscape for technology companies in the future? One of the things I will say when it comes to things like this, Apple uses this kind of technology in their watches to help people predict health problems, figure out health problems, track health problems. I This is a weird one where like, yeah, they invented it. They should like get something for that. They should be rewarded for being the company that figured that out. The AliveCore should be. But even if Apple is infringing here, do they, just because it's a health related thing, need to figure out a way to allow these to still be imported just because of that? And on the flip side, it's also just a consumer electronic. So is it as big of a deal as if it was a I mean, not that it's not a legit medical device, but it's not sold in that way. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going on here. We're going to see in the next few months, I suppose, maybe years, how this plays out. And we'll see if for the next Apple Watch, if they're either missing this chip or have already partnered with somebody else and made their own. So I mean, that's going to be interesting. The next very interesting thing we have going on here is Motorola will be turning all of your smartphones into satellite phones. And the way they're going to be doing this is basically they're making a hotspot that connects to satellites using the Iridium network, which will give you connection in areas where you typically wouldn't have a cellular network connection, which is a massive deal. If to be clear here, it's a massive deal not only in terms of I didn't see how expensive the device was. I don't know if that was released yet, but basically it'll be a monthly fee of $5, which is dirt cheap because I believe other devices are higher. Most satellite devices are higher. This device is called the Moto Go Satellite, and it'll work with any phone. You basically, from what I read and understand, is you turn it on and then you hook it up to your phone, not by wire. You just connect to it, and it's like Wi-Fi basically that lets you communicate with the satellite, which is awesome for people that do hunting, hiking in remote areas, or traveling through areas with poor cell coverage. Which, as somebody who lives in Texas, I can speak to. There is still poor cell coverage out there. I can tell you that for sure. And yeah, the Garmin InReach is one of the most popular options, and it also uses the Iridium network, and it costs about $390 for the device itself. I'm gonna look up Moto Go price, and oh, that didn't. Moto Go satellite price. Moto Go GP is what it keeps bringing up here, and that is not what I want. Let's see here if we can find this quickly or if we can't really find this quickly. It is not looking good. Motorola Moto Go. Wait, what is it called again? I'm already dumb. Let's go Moto Go Satellite. Hotspot. Please pull up what I'm looking for. Please pull up what I'm looking for. And I can't find it. So update in a future video. Who knows what's going on here? Anyways, the $5 a month is the big deal. That is actually like way cheaper than everything else, and the fact that you technically you're carrying another device around, but it works with just your normal phone is also kind of cool. Yeah, I think this is just gonna be sweet and a good step forward. Plus Motorola, what do you know that they've done recently? They don't do that much cool stuff anymore, you know? So you gotta get excited when they do something. So how might the Moto Go satellite hotspot impact use of smartphones in areas with poor cellular network coverage? I think this is essentially pretty similar to like what a Starlink satellite would do for a house, but for a phone. So it's a big deal for people that don't have cellular networks in their area or internet, and maybe they're older and don't need internet but need to be able to make phone calls when they're in an emergency situation. That's a big deal. This is also an awesome device for disaster areas where cellular communications have been knocked out. You can go in there with these, connect to satellites, and get phones up and running within hours instead of days or weeks. So I mean, those are two massive improvements that the device like this could make that would allow an average person to use it. And yeah, like Starlink would be just as good, but the fact that you personally could have this device on your own with you, that's what makes it a big deal, in my opinion here. So, next up, we have Ford and their F 150 Lightning are on production halt for another week. So, Ford, a week ago, halted battery production on their electric pickup truck for a battery related fire that occurred in one of their vehicles earlier this month during quality checks. So, in house, and basically, as they were about to ramp up the production of this to meet their higher demands, batteries were starting to go boom. And so the battery issue is appeared to be related to damage to a battery cell due to a manufacturing defect. And Ford said it's a small amount of vehicles, but they want to correct this before, they actually blow up a truck in their factory. Which, maybe is why they're partnering with LG to build a new factory of, battery cell productions. That's all I'm saying. I I don't know for sure, but if I was Ford and I was having batteries go boom, and the problem with making bad batteries is batteries are not cheap and the materials are not cheap. So wasting a battery is kind of sucks. So, well, Ford is going through Battery Gate like Samsung once did. What steps can automakers use, to ensure these are safe and address any issues that arrive? I think Ford's doing the right thing here. I think halting production to do this is smart to figure this out and fix it before you ship it out there, especially in, this is Ford's. This is the biggest deal when it comes for electric vehicles. And out of all the vehicles that need to be everything people hope electric vehicles are going to be, it's the F 150, especially here in the US. And I mean, this is a vehicle that generated, pre-orders exceeding 200,000. Ford needs this vehicle to be successful. I mean, this is their in to the market. This is their way to show they are here. They're going to compete. They're going to keep up with Tesla, and they're one of the biggest automakers that needs to do it. So, I hope they figure this out. I hope they get back to producing these soon. And yeah, I'm excited to see what Ford does in the next few years to kind of finish catching up to automakers like Tesla. This last one just caught my eye. No idea if it's true, but AI is becoming the new human resources as this Chat GPT takes off, as other things are going on. The world's getting to be a wild place. Things are happening. Coca-Cola out with the marketing department, in with Chat GPT. Google out with the human resources department, in with an AI to help identify and fire employees, which is a claim that an ex-employee just made, which is fantastic and hilarious at the same time. So the ex-employee basically alleged that Google used an AI system to monitor their work communications and led to their dismissal from the company. Google did deny this. However, I wouldn't be shocked. And I wouldn't be shocked if even other companies are using communications like this or technology like this. Why wouldn't you? If you don't have to have a manager there hovering around them all the time. I mean, you still need a manager just to make sure people are they know what they're supposed to work on. They have someone to go to for help. But in terms of making sure they're getting their work done and actually working efficiently, I don't see why you wouldn't have the computer do that for you. especially a company like Google. That's just what they do. So basically, is there ethics or problems with doing this? I think this is something that, well, people are going to push back on. I think in the next few years, we're going to kind of have to just accept that your every move is being watched, and especially at work, your only free place is at home. And when you're not at home, don't expect the benefits of an AI. And that's, not benefits of an AI, but the benefits of privacy. So, what are the potential benefits and drawbacks of using this? I think I pretty much just covered a bunch of those. I think what's going to end up happening here is people are going to really have to decide how much they care about privacy in the next few years. I think this is a problem that specifically here in the US, we haven't had to think about. We don't really think about because we just sign up for things on our phones. We don't think twice about hitting agree on things. And I think this is a topic that as AI becomes more and more prevalent, people are really going to start to be like, but I don't want work to know I did that. I don't want a social credit score, stuff like that. I think that's all going to start just kind of piling in the next few years as this technology is more prevalent in the real world, not just shown off online. And for the last discussion question of the day, we just have how can companies ensure that the use of their AI is transparent and accountable, and that employees are not unfairly targeted or discriminated against? And yeah, I think this is another thing where I hate to say that the government should step in, but they might have to for stuff like this. Otherwise, companies need to, starting now, be more transparent that they're doing this on top of, when you are at work, hey, maybe when you sign up the first day at work, they're like, hey, we're doing this, just so you know. We record everything your screen's doing and AI goes through it. You're allowed to challenge that. We also have cameras everywhere in here, just so you know. They should just be upfront about it. If things change, you put out an email saying, hey, we were letting people know that we're recording, or like there was an indicator, but now it's just if you're here, assume. And just let people know. I think transparency and just putting memos out there talking about it is the best way to deal with that stuff. I think online they'll get some pushback for doing that and for saying they're doing this. But I do think that they're probably doing it and it's probably not going to stop. So they might as well own up to it, let people know, yeah, we're doing this. And that's just how it's going to work. It saves us tons of money on having people here to manage you. And we don't want to pay those people because we'd rather have that money for ourselves. And that's what they should be doing. So, yeah, we'll find out here. Like I said, this is going to be next 3 to 5 years are going to be a big learning curve when it comes to AI. I think it's going to come quicker than people think it's going to, and I think it's going to change a lot of things faster than people think. And I mean, Google runs tests on YouTube all the time without telling creators, without telling viewers. Just, oh, my phone's doing this now. I have these options now, like the 1080p premium. I mean, there's no reason to suspect that's not how things work inside such a big company. What are the odds everybody gets to hear what's happening? So, yeah, that said, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and I'm excited to be back here tomorrow, do another one. I'm kind of excited to see if Tesla makes pretty good looking vehicles, but if this Tesla Model 2 looks as bad as that thing did, I mean, ugh, I don't even want it. Just get it out of here. I'll catch you guys in the next one.